Advanced Heroquest, the Kidnap of Alrik Rinkeldraz. Sales and skills. The impromptu massacre of the Warp Weaver, Pussfal Bane, and his fetid minions by Heinrich and the elf Turalian had temporarily saved the city from falling under the sway of the Ratmen and their human ally, Marco Broglio. By rescuing the leader of the engineering guild, Alrik Rinkeldraz, the city's ad hoc resistance still had themselves a figurehead about whom they could rally. The dwarf was also a very powerful person in his own right, and a good ally to have. Rinkeldraz preferred what aid he could to the heroes as a way of expressing his thanks. But with the destruction of the guild's headquarters and the slaying of much of its upper echelons, his resources were not what they once were. However, he was still a fountain of knowledge, and he knew of something that would be essential to the hero's quest to kill the treacherous Marco Broglio. This information he imparted to Turalian in private, and the enigmatic elf immediately started to make his preparations to undertake the quest. Alrik bade the senior apprentice Steiner accompany the elf, and the pair agreed to set off at nightfall. Heinrich and Turalian each took half of the 390 gold coins that they had found on the bodies of the dead Skaven, and hit the shops. As usual, the first step was to recover each character's fate points and heal any lost wounds, with both heroes returning to full health and regaining all of their temporary fate points that they had spent, which on this occasion had been none. Heinrich Lewin's henchman, Vendel, also recovered the single fate point that he had spent. Next, as the rescue of the Guildmaster had only been a short one-off expedition, both Heinrich and Turalian gained only a single fate point for completing it. This brought the knight up to 6, and the elven assassin up to 5 fate points. The gold they had recovered was divided between the two heroes, giving 195 gold crowns to each. It was then time to pay Wendel's cost of living, which was 50 gold crowns, plus an item costing at least 25 gold crowns, or a straight 75 gold crowns. Again, Heinrich plunked for the former, and offered to buy the swordsman a healing potion for 50 gold crowns. Vendel heartily agreed. The knight's own cost of living came to 80 gold crowns, 10 as a base, and then 30 for the 6 fate points he owned. However, this number was then doubled for the notoriety that he had earned fighting alongside the infamous pirate Murdoch Voltman during the raid on the Torre de Morte. Turalian's cost of living was a much more modest 35 gold crowns. It was now time for the nail-biting random events roll. As always, the Games Master rolled a pair of D12s and looked up the result.
By the gods! There's been a robbery! Have you lost anything?
It seemed that there had been a break-in at the Siren Song Tavern during the skirmish on the road to the Golden Gate of Alteza. All of the loose change that had been left there had been stolen. Heinrich
lost the 75 gold coins that he had stashed there after the raid on the Necromancer's tower.
Terralion, fortunately, hadn't left anything in the tavern, and so lost nothing. The two heroes then took the money that they had left and headed to their first port of call, which was the purchase of healing potions. 2 for the elf, and the one Heinrich had promised to buy for Wendell. Oi there. Ah, you again. What do you want? Ah, more juice. Not a problem. But mind how you go with this. I had one customer who became addicted. He would forego all his meals and only drink my healing potions. He was so full of energy, he barely slept at all, until one day he suddenly just woke up dead. I would not like to lose your customer, so 2 healing potions is the limit I will sell to any one customer at any one time. You can beg, you can plead, but you'll get no more from me. There, you have been warned. Have a nice day. With the trip to Pardini's complete, Heinrich parted ways with the elf and headed into the depths of the city on a mysterious errand. Terralion wanted to stock up on arrows, and so he headed to Giovanni Brasco's.
Welcome one, welcome all. Just the one today. Welcome to Giovanni's affordable armor and lethal weapons stall. What can I do for you, Mr. Elf? More arrows? So many more arrows. You are depleting my stock. But this is good. They are in the barrel over there as usual. Please, help yourself.
Meanwhile, Heinrich headed deeper and deeper into the city as the rain poured harder and harder. Since the truce between the Skaven and the mercantile faction had been called, the streets were much quieter, with their mutual enemy, the Guild and Navigator families, having given up much ground. With this state of affairs in place, regular folks were fearful and kept off the streets as much as they could. During his long conversations with the buccaneer, Murdoch Voltman, Heinrich had heard the story of an enigmatic healer who walked the streets of Trafuro when the moon, Moorsleep, was waning. Heinrich was hiding something that he had shared with no one. The night before the assassination of Cankerclaw Darkheart, the knight had been jumped by a gang of Skaven and unceremoniously shoved into a large sack. Admittedly, Heinrich had been so drunk that he could barely stand, but still, it was kind of embarrassing. Fortunately, he was rescued by his fellow heroes. They found him, strapped to a sacrificial altar, flanked by swirling pillars of warp energy, in a hidden room in the lair of the Grey Seer. Unbeknownst to the other heroes, the ritual Heinrich was part of had almost been completed. The plague monks of Clan Pestilence had intended to use the night as a host for a demon of the chaos power, Nurgle. As fortune had it, this had not come to pass due to the timely interference of the rest of the party of heroes. However, after the successful neutralization of the Grey Seer and the subsequent mooted celebrations, it was well into the wee hours that the knight finally returned to his lodgings and removed his armor, to find that the ritual had not left him unscathed. Beneath, 3 large circular sores festered on his flesh, resembling some arcane symbol. He tried to ignore them in the coming days, but little by little they began to spread. During the 3-day drinking binge with the pirate Volkman, he had sought the older man's advice and been directed here to the depths of Tobaro. Heinrich walked almost listlessly through the rainy streets until, finally, a hooded man appeared from the shadows and began to approach him. The man wore mottled rags, but there was an aura of peace around him. As he neared Heinrich, he spoke.
I have been waiting for you. You should have come sooner. The curse must be burning by now.
Heinrich touched his breastplate and nodded. The healer approached, and his hand began to glow with etheric light. Heinrich suddenly felt a cleansing power flood into every pore of his body. But then, what felt like a fire erupted in his chest, heat upon heat engulfing him as a roaring inferno raged over his body. It was too much, and the night collapsed into darkness. When Heinrich awoke, he was alone in the empty street. As has become his habit upon awaking, he reached beneath his breastplate for the sores on his chest, but felt nothing. He brought his hand out and looked at it, expecting to see glistening pus, but instead, his hand tingled and glowed with cleansing light. The mysterious stranger had granted the gift of healing to the knight. Heinrich resolved to give his new heroic skill a rather more mundane name to hide its origin. He thought and wondered if this new skill would be a blessing or a curse. That remained to be seen. Before senior apprentice Steiner went off to join Turalian on their secret mission, the guildmaster took him to one side.
Boy, on this night you do great service to both me and the memory of our fallen brothers. Take this gift and use it well. This custom repeater crossbow is an heirloom from the dwarf hold at Dragonback. Each magazine holds 10 bolts, and I have 3 magazines for you.
My lord, I couldn't...
Take it! Take this and kill as many of the rats as you can. Aid the elf, but more importantly, secure the annex.
That will be our new base of operations. Nothing is more important. Nothing can take priority over that. And I mean nothing. Neither the shards that he seeks, nor the life of the pointy-eared Elgi. Understood?
Steiner grimly nodded and took up the weapon.